What's up YouTube, and welcome to my first deck of the new expansion. I was scrolling through Mobalytics earlier on and looking for some interesting decks that have performed quite well so far in this expansion, and I stumbled across a Riven Pantheon. Found a version with a 56+% win rate in Platinum, and I just couldn't resist. I yoinked the deck, I tweaked it up a bit, and it has been feeling very solid in this version and performing really well. So this is basically a mid-rangey combo deck that really tries to make use of the Fated keywords, as well as Riven's Blade Fragments, especially the Overwhelm Fragment. Those two, of course, synergize very well. The Riven Blade Fragments are very cheap ways of continuously getting that Fated keyword rolling, growing your units large. Then you try to give something Overwhelm, attack, and you remove the blocker with either a Whirling Death or a Bloody Business. And I was surprised myself because it sounds like a somewhat inconsistent combo, but there are just so many targets for all of the buffs, and you have so many ways of clearing that Overwhelm blocker that you can get it done in just about any matchup. So I'll just go through the list and I'll start off with the big hitters in this, so the preferred buff targets, the preferred finishers. Of course, we have Riven, who is very easy to level here, and once she does level up, she does double her first power gain each round. So with Blade of the Exile, with permanent buffs like Shield Vault, it is pretty easy to grow her humongously large. The other one, of course, the true carry of this new expansion, is Wounded Whiteflame. Fury as well as Fated, so every turn we can buff this permanently, as well as send this into combat. Either our opponent doesn't block and take Nexus damage, or this unit keeps on growing. So we can make Wounded Whiteflame get a consistent +2/+2 most of the time. And the third one, of course, is Pantheon, who already has the Overwhelm keyword and himself. He will often level in this deck around turn 7, 8, 9 and will be a finisher by himself without necessarily needing prior buffs. But we can, of course, also play him early on and continuously keep buffing him, make use of that Fated keyword, so that he's already humongous once he does level up. And another option for a big hitter in this deck is Saga. Seeker also has the Fated keyword. Now, I found this card to be rather better for board control and basically if your opponent tries to swarm, to have a blocker that survives a lot of attacks. But this one grows rather slowly compared to the other cards because it doesn't have Fury, it doesn't have the Riven passive, it doesn't have the million keywords that Pantheon might have. And therefore this is definitely an option as a finisher, but rather a plan B. And now the rest of the deck is basically just there to either stall or chip some early damage, as well as combat tricks and ways of proccing the Fated keyword. So let's take a look at the other units first. Blade Squire makes perfect sense. Well statted, gives us a Fragment. Same for Mountain Goat. Well statted, gives us a gem. Permanent attack on one of our big hitters, keeping them healthy. Not sure yet if this has to be a 3-off, but here and there I find it hard to cut cards from the list because all of the cards in this list just make so much sense. Room Weaver, generating Blade Fragments, helping out the Riven level up, makes perfect sense. And then we have Blinded Mystic, a card I was a bit critical, or rather conservative about when I first saw it in the reveal, but especially in the current meta, it does feel pretty nice. You're gonna be running into a lot of Eye of the Dragons because of Canon Allegiance decks, as well as a lot of Yordle Explorers and Yordle Captains and so on. So right now it feels like the silence effect pretty much always has a target. And of course, considering that we will most of the time have a Fated unit on the board when we play this, this in reality is a 4-mana 5/4, because of course it has 3/2 stats on its own. It grants +1/+1, procs Fated, another +1/+1, is also a Pantheon level up trigger. This card fulfills a lot for this deck, and the silence effect can be a type of removal which this deck might be a bit low on in general. And now looking at the spells, I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory as well. Guiding Touch and Pale Cascade, just good combat tricks to keep our carries alive, ensure more Fury stacks on our Wounded Whiteflame, as well as proccing the Fated keyword. Redrawing cards just makes sense. Shield Vault, permanently growing our unit. Also very useful to either pop spell shields or to stun high HP blockers on our opponent's side, which would otherwise mean that we get a lot less Overwhelm damage through, but we can temporarily disable them with a stun. Of course, in some cases also just a good defensive option, maybe stunning a Poppy the turn she gets played or something similar. We Stand Together is a card that's currently still in testing. So far it felt good as a 3-off. I could see cutting down on this slightly, but it is very effective in this deck. We often have multiple Fated units on the board, and since they are very sticky and we have a lot of protective options, they also survive for a long time and will benefit from these buffs. At the same time, besides the Fated units, we also want to, for example, keep Riven alive, keep the Mountain Goat alive, while also wanting to send them into combat and block with them. So far this felt pretty good, although it is a bit more on the expensive side for this deck. And of course our tools of board control as well as optional finishers, Whirling Death, as well as Bloody Business. One thing to keep in mind, the Fated buffs happen after the strike effect goes through, so don't get too greedy when you try to put these on a Fated unit. Keep in mind the Oracle's Eye is going to be your best friend there. Overall, this is a super fun deck to play. I loved how many options you have, how many intricate combos this deck has, and how many ways of setting up your lethal and how many targets for your big buffs and so on you have. Just a very creative deck with a fun playstyle. And like I said, it did feel pretty strong to me, and apparently it has 56+% win rate in Diamond. Of course, this might always change. It is just one day after the expansion. The meta is still going to shift a lot, but I definitely recommend giving this a shot. If you need some inspiration, here are a bunch of gameplay examples.
Is it the mustache? Who knows?
Teemo Poppy. Alright, I don't think Pantheon is a keep on the opener. I think we're looking for 1-drops and Wounded Whiteflame. Riven, of course.
To serve the greater good. I'll show the hunters.
Ooh, that's so good for us. It's such a good uptrade because it's one of the key cards in our opponent's deck. While our 1-drop fulfills his purpose and gives us an extra card. Triple Shield Vault feels like it might be overkill, to be honest. Although it is an amazing way of triggering Fated. Even in case the stun doesn't matter, it's still a 2 mana +2/+2 permanent grant. Okay, I'm starting to get scared. The Yordle army might assemble. How do I do this? Whiteflame this turn. Shield Vault, then proc Fated again.
Hello, anyone want to join my party?
That's probably the way to go, right? My opponent can't really get value out of Mayor this turn. Neither out of Captain, so I'll just open the next turn with Blinded Mystic. Seems good to me. I won't have mana to get the Blade. If I do that. If I go Mystic now, I will have mana for the Blade. I'm leaning towards thinking the Blade is more worth it. Because that puts my opponent on a clock that I will kill them in 2 turns. In 2 attack turns, that is. Interesting attack. What kind of combo tricks can you have here? One might play group shot, but I have protection. It's a weird attack because I'll be putting the 3 fragments on the Blinded Mystic. And then my opponent doesn't have a blocker for the Mystic anymore. Could also play the Whiteflame, but then I won't have mana for protective combo tricks. I think I want to keep... We stand together open. I'm not sure if my opponent plays group shots or something of the like. Riven level should be at 2 HP. Do I greet the Fated? I don't think I need to. I would have an extra attacker though. Nah, I think we just go the safer route and send it all in.
pieces whole.
Protects us from some weird group shots or pokey sticks.
They just needed some tape to reassemble.
Alright, definitely swinging in now before we get Crescent struck. Equinoxed or whatever.
Spoil the surprise?
Still wondering how good this card really is. Feels like it should be very, very good. 3 mana for 6 combat stats at burst speed. That can also affect 2 traits at once. So if I play Whiteflame this turn, I would have mana for, say... Wait, what? Okay. Playing around Decimate, maybe? So next turn I'll have mana for We Stand Together and Shield Vault. Shield Vault stuns the Yordle, that should be more important than Teemo leveling up. Yikes. There are so many ways I could do this. I think I just tank the Teemo hit. We should be ending the game next turn, right? This threatens the block on the Yordle here. Can't really play around group shot anymore, but it's not the likeliest card to be in my opponent's deck. Possible, but like it's not definitely a must include.
Armed and ready. Where was I?
And I mean, if we get an Overwhelm Fragment here, we should also just win, right? Let's go. So I guess we start off with Shield Vaulting. We'll proc Fated here anyway. Guiding Touch also a decent draw. So it was a pokey stick all along. I think we got this. I don't see how our opponent stops this attack. Like, it shouldn't even be close. This should be giga lethal. Overkill. Might have been smart to actually put the Riven's weapon hit onto Riven before the Shield Vault resolves to get +2 doubled instead of +1 doubled. But it doesn't really make a difference, I think. We're very much winning on this attack anyway. Like, we even beat Stress Defense. Oh, and they had Group Shot all along. Yeah, that Guiding Touch top deck might have actually been quite, quite important. But I mean, the dragon on itself would have also been lethal, so...
A way forward.
Seems like Poppy decks are still very popular. Yeah, I don't think the nerf was enough, really. Like, it's a slight tweak to Poppy, and it would have mattered if Poppy support package would have not gotten much stronger at the same time.
I'll show the hunters.
Oh, that's actually good for me. We're up a card in hand. Our opponent's got a slow start. Please don't play Yordle Explorer. We're doing it. A Riven for the Fragment. We miss out on a potential Fated buff, but hey. Fragments are important. Quite peculiar. Don't think we're going for the Pantheon level up here, rather for a Riven OTK.
I just know the heroes around here somewhere.
Sharpside's really scary. I could Fragment into Bloody Business Poppy. I think that's a pretty smart play. Plays around Sharpside, it plays around Ranger's Resolve.
There's still much to answer for. No turning back now.
Not the most intuitive one, not that easy to see, but I think it's the best play here. Otherwise, Sharpside is a blowout. If I play Whiteflame, Tracker contests Riven, I have to pay Cascade the Whiteflame. If opponent has Sharpside, both my units are gone. I guess Pokey Stick? Group Shot? I'm a bit confused here. Alright. Well, so far so good. Basically took out all our opponent's tempo. Let's start to stack up the Whiteflame now. Or Pantheon as a finisher already. Yeah, the Whiteflame with just a Pale Cascade is already gonna start growing. I think I want Pantheon to be huge. Okay, opponent isn't blocking here anyway. Maybe I just go Quick Attack Fragment. Shield Wall doesn't seem very sensical. I could try to draw into a Bloody Business. Don't like it too much. Oh, that's a good draw though.
Let us take a peek at life beneath the waves. Your scars will be
Now, the issue is the earliest I can level Pantheon is in my opponent's turn, right? So that would be turn... Wow, I can't count. Turn 8, and on my turn 9 attack I would get the level up. I prefer to finish the game before then. Double Shield Wall looks kind of cute. Like I can maybe swing in Whirling Death to block her and find lethal that way. How high can I pump Pantheon? Vault this turn, he's at 8 and 10. Need to find some more damage somewhere. This looks like a trap. There's also just no reason for me to block this. Plus attack fragment should be lethal. Wait, which fragments did we have so far? Plus this is gonna be an Overwhelm fragment. But we also get Blade of the Exile. But we're 1 mana short. No, we're not short actually, are we? 1, 2. Let's see, we shield wall this. You grow to 9. I think we're 1 off, right? But we do have Overwhelm here, but we're still 1 off. I can't really find the lethal here.
One out of time.
Wait, if we put the blade here though. We're still one off, right? Whirling Death, the Pantheon blocker. We push 9, this pushes 0, this pushes 2. Yeah, no matter how we spin it, we're one off. I think in that case I like the blade on... guess the Rune Weaver? Feels like it forces the most, right?
Quiet of your life, it will not last. We must.
Okay, now we just need to wait and see what kind of combat tricks our opponent has.
Persistence is key.
Oh, risky, risky, risky. Huh? How does that make sense? Sharp side?
Easy does it.
I'm a bit confused here. Right now it's Whirling Death Pantheon onto the Conchologist.
Persistence is key.
Now it's this. Or Whirling Death here? No, that makes less sense, right?
Easy does it.
I'm a bit confused no matter how we spin it.
Persistence is key.
Yeah, that looks good. That looks very winning. Whirling Death is kind of cute in this deck. I'm not sure if it's a 3-off. I'm also not sure about We Stand Together, but... Mountain Goat might be a very interesting consideration. It doesn't have to be a 3-off.
The gods see they can bleed. They know they can die.
Alright, let's try this version with the goats. Rumble Sion. I'm actually not quite sure what this looks like. I assume it will just be Draven Sion. With maybe 5 different techs or so. Bit more discard fodder, a bit less discard cards. This could also just be a Mecha Yordle deck with Sion as a finisher. No, it can't. No Battle City, I'm crazy. Alright, if my opponent doesn't have a proper blocker, Mountain Goat looks incredible here. I mean, Mountain Goat always looks incredible, to be honest. Look at this thing. Look at this stare. Looks like a pass to me. I'm not in desperate need of a gem. Yeah, Goat actually also synergizes with Whirling Death and so on. It might be a very smart addition. Whiteflame is nice here, so is Rune Weaver. I like Whiteflame into Riven more. So if my opponent wants to swing with a Dredger, they'll have to give me an extra gem. I mean, in that case, I gladly accept the trade. Blinded Mystic, I could render it as useless. But I think we want to start stacking up fragments, right?
Heart and blade, both broken.
How much removal does my opponent's deck play? I keep an eye out in if they keep Mystic Shot or get Excited Mana open, because the natural play for my opponent would just be to drop Twin Blade Revenant. Especially if they pass, it's an instant end round for me.
Locked and loaded.
Ooh la la. Okay, that shuts down my attack quite nicely. I suppose we make use of this. I'll probably just let Rumble hit me. We stand together, this grows to 8. Okay, now I don't have to do it anymore. Just another Whiteflame and we stand together is gonna win the game if my opponent pulls incorrectly. I'd like to play Mystic and silence one of those, but if my opponent has 2 Twin Blades, they're never running out of value anyway. It's not that important. This is interesting. Like, the threat of we stand together has to be very prevalent here. Like, my opponent has to be very aware of it. But still, like, how do they win the game if they never swing? And I just keep on stacking up my board. Ooh, but this Twin Blade, this Whiteflame can of course die to a... It's tricky. The Mystic shot. Could save both the Goat and Riven. I have another Riven in hand anyway. Looks a lot like a Mystic shot from my opponent, right? We just don't make use of Fated here.
There's still much to answer for. You will not break me.
Since we have plenty of fearsome blockers, I would rather block this so that this doesn't get returned to my opponent's hand. And now our opponent has to deal with our swings. Let's go for the level up. Don't expect my opponent to run Ravenous Flock. Sentry could be scary technically. So how do we distribute the shards? Plus attack Riven. I suppose quick attack here.
Fly to them on broken wings.
Gem Riven, so she's out of Get Excited range. Blade of the Exile Riven.
There is surrender and there is life. I will live.
Oh, this turn feels so good. Like, so incredibly... I misordered, didn't I? I had to play the gem before Riven leveled. I missed 1 damage on Riven. Just as I was about to say this turn felt good. I'm curious though. Like, if my opponent doesn't have a Sion, they should still be kind of doomed. They do have a Sion, I'm probably dead. Although I'm not sure. So this will be my highest HP blocker. Looks doable. What's the play here? So this gets silent for sure. Silence for sure. The only question is where do we put the buffs? I suppose we buff this, silence this, so this can threaten to block Rumble. Or do we do it the other way around because Whirling Death goes through anyway? Like, my opponent can't possibly have survival skills here. Feels like this makes the most sense. It doesn't perfectly make use of the Fated keyword. I might be missing something here, but I want to be able to block Rumble with the lower HP one of these, so that this can block Sion returned. Ooh, I could also just block with the 5/7. Does that make sense? I don't think it makes sense, right? I'd rather permanently remove Sion here. What if I just block Sion twice? I'm in Get Excited range. Wait, let me just check real quick that... If I saw that correctly, the Whirling Death triggers after. Riven blocks here, Whirling Death Sion. Gold blocks here. Ooh, then I'm open to a Mystic Shot though, but nothing I can do about it. As long as Riven survives, it's all good.
There's still much to answer for.
Wait, no. Whirling Death here. How did I miss this? How the hell did I miss this? And we survive a Mystic Shot, should be GG. We also survive Rumble's Flame Spitter. Oh, I'm feeling rusty at this game after like a 1 week break already. But yeah, this should be our W. I mean, how does my opponent stop this open attack realistically? There we go, GG.
At last, a way forward.